my fellow comic book collectors, it's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Friday Challenge video, and it's really my year in review. So I wanted to show you my biggest 10 pickups for the year. So these are my top 10 biggest purchases for 2024. So the way we're going to just do this is just for the cover challenge. It's going to be the Friday comic challenge, but it's also going to be the hashtag top 10 2024. So these are the biggest books that I picked up this year. I'd love to see what else people, what other people had picked up for this year, their top 10. So I'd love to see people's response to this video. So let's get right into it. My top 10 pickups for 2024. And these are pretty big books, actually. It's a pretty great list. I had a pretty good year for picking up some pretty cool stuff. So let's get right into it. The very first book, if this was higher grade, it would have been higher up on the list, but it is a great book. It is my All Flash Quarterly #1. It's in a 0.5. Strangely, in the lower grades, it's almost like there's a lot of price compression. So like a 0.5, 1.0, 1.5, almost all very similar priced. This one is just one of my favorite books, actually. I really do love this one. It's all Flash. It's the book that really started Flash in his own title. This is his own series. The weird thing is Flash Comics, which is the other title that had Flash in it, was more of a mixture between him and Hawkman. This was more of a actual all Flash book. So it's all Flash. It's missing page 1 and 2, centerfold, and page 1 and 2 missing. So it's missing a bit, but at least it presents really well in the slab, and that's really why I picked it up. I thought it was really good presenting copy. So this is Origin of the Flash Retold, and the cover is done by Gardner Fox. So really cool book. Really love this one. It's number 10 on my list. Number 9 on my list is another cool book. This book was for the longest time under the radar, and I should have picked it up when it was under the radar, but I never could find a copy. So it was under the radar, a very affordable book, but then later people started talking about it and it became pretty expensive. It is War Fury #1. Now, the reason people were talking about this book was this cover is it's a crazy cover. I mean, you got this guy using a flamethrower, burning up this other guy. This one guy down here, he's got a bullet right through the center of his head. And it's really because of this guy's head that this book is kind of famous. It was later used for Horrific #3. So they actually took this head, flipped it around, and blew it up to make it the full cover. And that Horrific 3 was well known. It was one of these covers that was very desired by pre-code horror collectors. But people realized that, hey, this is the same head that they used. And all of a sudden, this became a pretty hot book. It's Don Heck that did the cover, and it's a great one from 1952. The next one, I just recently showed this one. I just recently picked this up. Is a major book. This is Amazing Stories. I always forget the number. Number 29, Volume 3, number 5. This is the very first appearance of Buck Rogers. This was a big book for me to pick up. I was quite excited to get this copy. It's just a really cool first appearance. I love the fact that he's on the cover. It's a pulp, so it's not a comic book appearance, but it is his first appearance in the written form. So just a very cool book, and I was quite excited to get it. It's quite big. You can see that it's much larger than a standard comic. It's very strange because typically pulps we kind of associate with being smaller than comics. This is much larger, but it's not as thick. It's not a thick book. It's more like magazine size. So very interesting one from 1928. So just a really cool book. Um, it's done by Frank R. Paul did the cover, and there's H.G. Wells stories inside as well. And Philip Francis Nolan was the one that created Buck Rogers. So that's all inside this book. So that's number 8 on my list. Number 7 on my list is one that people might not realize how significant this book is. But this is Silver Streak Comics number 23. And it's in high grade. That's why it's one of the bigger books on my list. Actually, I won this from a My Comic Shop auction. And I got it for a great price. It's still an expensive book, but I got it for a great price. Generally, this is a pretty pricey book in higher grade. And it is a higher grade. So it's a great bondage cover. And it's the last of the Silver Streak series. It's a Lou Ferristad cover. And it's from 1946. Now, the key significance about this book is, well, it is a bondage cover and all that, but the real key significance to it is actually the very next issue is Crimes Does Not Pay. And Crimes Does Not Pay, number 24, is actually the very first crime comic. It's actually the first comic devoted to crime. So this is the book right before that led to the very first crime book. So it's kind of a key in that respect. I'll show you the back as well. It's a very cool book, Silver Streak Comics number 23. Last issue of the series. Number 6 on my list is one that's a little bit more well-known. That's a little bit more obscure. This is Batman 59. And this is a really cool, always love this cover. Not a great cover for what it is, though. It's the first appearance of a major character. But it's still a great cover. So even though it doesn't have the first appearance on the cover, I don't mind so much because it's such a cool cover. It is the first appearance of Deadshot, and the cover art is done by Bob Kane and Schwartz. And and it's okay. So what does it say? And so first appearance of Deadshot, Floyd Lawton, and Batman in the Future cover and story, Joker from the Future appearance. So if we ever want to do Batman 2099, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the future. Is this actually the Batman Beyond first appearance? So just a really cool book. I love the cover. I love the sci-fi covers. This one's just a really cool one. I love this bat flying spaceship. And it's from 1950. That's number 6 on my list. Number 5 on my list is one that is very desired by collectors. So it commands a lot of value. I actually got it for a great price because I won it at auction. I sniped it at the last minute on eBay. And I was excited to win it because there was ones that were like restored 0.5s that were going for more. I got it for a great price. So I was quite excited about it. But it's a classic cover. This is Daredevil number 11, and it's a torture cover, but it's a crazy torture cover. You got this girl in the red dress, in bondage, of course. Her feet are in stocks, and you got this Quasimodo-like character, really deformed face, and he's tickling her feet with a feather. It's just such a crazy cover. Got all these guys in these prison cells in the background. And then you got Daredevil, that's Daredevil, with the boomerang, and he's throwing it at the Quasimodo character. Just a crazy cover. I just really like it. I've been wanting this book for a while. I like crazy covers, and this is definitely one of those. Women in red dresses as well. So just a fun one. this is a nice ad for boy comics on the back as well. So just a cool book. That's number 5 on my list. Number 4 is a more of a modernish book compared to all these Golden Age books that I'm showing. But it is a major book. This one, you know, it's just such a pricey book, and it's hard to find a legitimate copy. It's one of these books that came out during sort of the era where it was under the radar, became hot, and people started making counterfeit versions of it. So it's actually one of those ones you want to buy graded because you're never sure if it's the real one or not. That's why you get graded copies. But it's Dave Sims' Cerebus #1, Cerebus the Aardvark. And mine's a restored 7.0, but I don't mind that it's restored. I really don't mind. I don't care. It's a really pricey book. The restored makes it affordable. So this one would be much higher on the list if it was not restored. Basically triple the price if it wasn't restored. Just a really cool book. I was so excited to get this one. This sort of completes a collection that I was aiming for, where I was trying to get all these kind of bronze/copper. This is a Bronze Age book, actually. Keys with anthropomorphic characters like the Ninja Turtles, Isagyu, Jimbo. Well, Cerebus is the first of all those. He's the precursor for all of those. And he was actually created by a Canadian creator, Dave Sims. And it's just a really cool book. So this is from 1977. It's the first appearance. And it's also the first from the title. The company, Aardvark Vanahem. Vanahem? Yeah. Vanahem. So yeah, just a really cool book. Always a classic one. It's a wraparound cover too, which is always fun. So just a really cool book. I was super excited to get this. Really hard to find. Okay, next one. Another big book. I kind of got this when it was kind of going down in price, strangely. This book got super hot around the Batman movie that just came out because the character is a major character from the Batman movie. It was the main character, actually main villain. And it's Detective Comics number 140. And this is the first appearance of the Riddler. Now, obviously you can see why it's a 1/8. That's missing a big chunk right there. But it's a good placement in an odd way because it doesn't impact the first appearance and the cover too much. If I just do this, it's like that. Oh, it's perfect. It's a 9/8. I don't know. So yeah. So this is it's an off-white pager from 1948. Origin and first appearance of the Riddler, and his name is Edward Nigma. And so it'd be Enigma would be his name, right? Aha, bit of a joke there. Enigma. And it's a Bill Finger story, and it's a Win Mortimer cover. So just a really cool book. I always liked the Riddler. I was a big fan of the Batman TV series from the 60s. And I always thought the Riddler was kind of cool. I liked, they would always have these really crazy riddles that you couldn't figure out. Like, there's no way they actually made sense. like seriously. But Batman would be like, oh, it means this, blah, blah, blah. And I always liked that part. I always thought it was funny and kind of cool. So yeah, so this is Detective Comics 140. And just a really cool book. I really like it. So I'm quite happy to have gotten this in my collection. And I got it for a really great price. The previous sale just before it was about double what I paid. So I was like, oh, yeah, wow. Okay, I'll go with it. So, yeah. Next book. One is another one I got from my comic shop. And this one I had to put on payments. This was a big book for me. This was quite a long purchase. I had to put payments on it because it was just so expensive. Because it is a very desired book. And it is All-American Comics number 61. And it is the very first appearance of Solomon Grundy. So just a really cool book. You know, classic cover as well. I mean, this is one of those really creepy covers. Like, I just love it. You know, you got Green Lantern there, and you know, Solomon Grundy kind of coming out of the marsh or out of the swamp. Get the moon with the bats flying around it, and it's just such a great cover. And kind of a cool story. You know, they play up on the rhyme associated to Solomon Grundy. And that's how he gets his name, actually. But it's origin in the first appearance of Solomon Grundy, and it's a Paul Renman cover and art. Very cool book. I was super excited to get this. One of my absolute favorite comics from my collection. I always love this book, and I was super excited to get it. Okay, last book is probably my favorite pre-code horror cover of all time. You probably see it often right above me. Well, it's not there right now. This is probably, like, it is probably, I would say my favorite. It is my favorite pre-code horror cover of all time. I think it is the best pre-code horror of all time. It's just a classic cover. It just has some class to it. I just think it's a really cool cover. It actually has pretty good stories inside. Stories are interesting. So we got Chamber of Chills. And, you know, I just love it. It's just like this very, like, nightclub kind of scene almost. I feel like they're at like a nightclub or some fancy establishment. She's just smoking a cigarette, like in a classy sort of way. She's wearing like a party dress, and you got the skeleton hand giving her a toast. Now, actually, the real story inside is totally different than that. It's actually husband and wife, and they're about to celebrate their anniversary. And basically, she is telling the story of how, you know, she's preparing. You can see her preparing the feast, and she's getting ready for dinner, and she's all dressed up, and he's waiting at the supper table for her to bring out the food. And she's telling the story about how they were together and how he was not a really good boyfriend. He kept on cheating on her. He wasn't really trustworthy. But now he's become the perfect husband. And, you know, she keeps on referring to him as the perfect husband. She said, you know, tells how he cheated on her with this one woman, but now he's the perfect husband. And so we finally get to see the guy. The reveal, the twist ending is she comes, brings the food over to the table, and you see him, and he is rotted. He's just like this. He's dead. She says, "Oh, ever since I murdered you when we got married, you've been the perfect husband." So it's just such a crazy story. Classic cover. I love this book. It's just so cool. It's Chamber of Chills number 19. It's a Lee Elias cover, and it's just a great one. It's an awesome book. So that's my top 10 list of my biggest pickups for 2024. I hope you enjoyed this list. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.